I watched over 100 hours of film from the top NFL prospects in order to determine who was legit and who was not as legit. Now, if I had to build a team with just this selection of people, these are the players I'm going with. This will be a two-part series. I'm going to start with the offense first, and in the second video do a defensive list, so stay tuned till that. For my quarterback, I'm going with Bryce Young. The only knock people have on him is his size. He's a generous 5'10", and somewhere in the 190-200 pounds range, and that is undersized for most positions, but especially quarterback where you have to see over the tallest guys on the field. But we've seen undersized guys defeat this narrative. Kyler Murray, Drew Brees, Russell Wilson, all of them are below 6 foot and have found success in the NFL. And they are a bit stockier as well. I mean, Russell Wilson's a potato at this point, but Bryce Young could easily bulk up in the offseason and add a few more pounds to his size to reduce the possibility of injury. Regardless of the size issue, if we look at his actual football ability, it is leagues above any other quarterback coming into the draft. He reads the field better than any other quarterback. He can make adjustments to certain concepts to improve them mid-game. When plays break down, he turns nothing into something. He has a truly spectacular playmaking ability. He's got the athleticism, agility to be an effective runner if he gets the opportunity to escape the pocket. He's got an accurate arm too. Makes it look so easy when it leaves his hands, almost like Aaron Rodgers does. 80 touchdowns, 12 interceptions in his 3-year collegiate career. He's an insane talent that any team would be lucky to have. For the running back position, this is an obvious choice for me. Bijan Robinson from Texas. He forced 104 missed tackles in the last season, which ranked #1 out of all running backs. He's got the size to be a bell cow running back. You turn on his film and he has that wow ability. He's got the breakaway speed, power, strength, jump cuts. He's got the whole duffel bag of moves, and he can pass block. Like I said, he can do everything. Moving on to the wide receivers, this is where it gets a little bit interesting and a little bit difficult for me. There are a lot of talented wide receivers and a lot of wide receivers that are just incomplete in general, but I'm going to pick two here. One is my X receiver, who is that #1 guy. For my slot wide receiver, I'm going with Nathaniel Dell, aka Tank Dell. He's one of the smallest wide receivers coming into the draft, as he stands around 5'10", 165 pounds, and you don't see much wide receivers in the NFL really perform all that well at his size, but his speed, acceleration, and ability to start and stop is a mismatch for any defensive back to deal with. In man coverage last season, he led the FBS with a whopping 34 receptions out of 47 targets with 10 touchdowns, which is also #1, 467 yards. Not to mention, he also led the FBS in receiving yards with 1,355 yards. He's now had back-to-back 1,300-yard seasons and 10-plus touchdown seasons at Houston. He's shown he's got some real talent. His ability to separate from defenders and his game speed are NFL ready. Regardless of the size, I got hope in him. For my X receiver, I'm going with Boston College Eagles wide receiver Zay Flowers. This was such a hard decision for me because I typically want a guy with a bigger catch radius as my X receiver, but his speed, acceleration, and his shiftiness with the ball in his hands is something special. I know he doesn't got the best hands in the world, but it's respectable enough for me, and he has shown to be a deep threat downfield. He has enough skill set to score in the red zone and understands how to attack zone coverage. Now, I said I was only going to do 2 wide receivers, but I kind of wanted to include him in here because I really do enjoy his game and his film in general. For my #2 wide receiver on the outside, I'm going with Rashee Rice from SMU. I'm really attached to this player due to his impressive hands and his ability to make hard contested catches, and I think those qualities alone make him a viable field stretching threat that can work outside of numbers as a great wide receiver too. The reason I don't pick him as my wide receiver 1 is because he doesn't excel in other areas. He's got decent speed and acceleration, nothing to write home about, but he doesn't create much separation out of his routes, which is a big problem in the NFL. For my tight end, I'm going with Notre Dame's Michael Mayer. When I watch the game film, all I hear the broadcasters say is how hard working he is and dedicated to the game he is and how he wants to get better, and you love to hear that as a coach or a GM about a player. And so I went back to watch every snap of his game against BYU and Clemson, and boy is this guy impressive. Easily one of the best run blocking tight ends in the draft, if not the best. Against Clemson, he trap blocks defensive ends very easily, and he pretty much neutralized Myles Murphy all game, who, if you didn't know, is an NFL prospect defensive end. And on running plays, he can get to the next level and create huge running lanes by putting his big body on linebackers. I mean, the guy is huge, 6'4", around 260 pounds, and he's got some real pass catching abilities. He led all tight ends in the FBS with 17 contested catches and has some real impressive route running from a guy his size. The only problem with Michael Mayer is really he's just not that fast, but it shouldn't matter all that much since he knows how to use that size against smaller players. Even if he's not a chain-moving offensive weapon, he will be on the field either way since his blocking is that good. But don't expect another Travis Kelce, TJ Hawkinson out of him. Moving on to the big guys in the trenches, the unsung heroes of the offensive linemen. With our guards, I'm starting with right guard O'Cyrus Torrence from Florida. While studying Anthony Richardson tape, I watched this guy by default, and man, is he a bully. He can move defenders out of the way with ease, and his hands are massive. My God, he's got like Shaq-like hands. Once he gets engaged with you, it's very hard to get away from him or get past him for that matter. In his 3-year career at Florida, he has yet to allow a single sack. And I mean, he's going against some of the best of the best. They played Georgia this year, and obviously top defensive prospect Jalen Carter went against him, and dare I say Osiris Torrance won the battle in the trenches. For me, he's the easiest guy to pick for the offensive lineman. He just stands out amongst them all. For my other guard, I'm going with Jarrett Patterson, center turned left guard, and while watching Notre Dame tape, specifically Michael Mayer, I noticed this guy dominating in the run game, clearing guys out and being a stout pass blocker as well, and it was against Clemson and BYU, which were 2 top 25 programs last year, and in those 2 games, I decided to watch more. Maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I'm drawn to his game now. Didn't allow a sack in his 3 seasons at Notre Dame. He was their anchor for years, and I think will be a promising guard in the NFL. For my tackles, I'm going with Georgia left tackle Broderick Jones, a man infused with some insane raw power. Dude packs a punch in pass protection, can end a pass rush in moments notice. He didn't allow a single sack last season, only 7 QB hurries, but once he gets to the NFL, he's got to work on his hand placement. Speed rushers will give him a big problem, I think, the most, since he has the occasion where he just misses the chest of the defender and can't really latch onto him, and these speed rushers can just blow right by him. But other than that, he has the size and strength to handle pretty much any NFL talent you throw at him. My next tackle I'm taking is right tackle DeJuan Jones from Ohio State Buckeyes. He is a giant, roughly 6'8", 350 pounds. There really aren't many guys that can go through this man, and it showed in college. He allowed no sacks and 0 QB hits. I mean, his freakishly long arms are going to stifle defenders, since 9 out of 10 times, he's getting his arms on you first. But on the negative side, he is kinda slow and will not recover if caught off balance. So once again, those speed rushers, the elite edge rushers like Nick Bosa, will cause a huge problem for him once he starts getting that spin move unleashed on him. Finally, for our center, I'm going with John Michael Schmitz, Minnesota center. Dude's going to be 24 when drafted. Not the best guy to draft. That's like 3 years less already. But he's got 4 years of starting ability at Minnesota. Very little injuries. Extremely durable. Seen him played a lot of snaps at center. He's got great balance and technique with his hands at the center position. And he's not raw at all. This guy is not a project. You know what you're going to get out of him. It's just strength and athletic standards aren't all that impressive. He's played against elite defenses like Iowa and Illinois for years now and holds his own. Doesn't get out of position, and he's a student of the game. Is he going to be another Jason Kelce? Probably not. But is he going to be a very viable starter in the NFL? Most likely. So there you go. That's my offense. If you do disagree, let me hear it in the comments. My next video will have the top defensive players in the draft, so get ready for that. Till next time, Sports Nerd Marty is out.